United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
And I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Never got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally.
A new world order.
These allegations are false.
Weapons of mass destruction.
The USA Patriot Act.
The blueprint for large corporations.
We once were, we are no longer a Christian nation.
Donald Trump confirmed that he is considering a run in 2016.
Do it.
I am officially running for President of the United States.
He will never be President of the United States.
Donald Trump will never be elected
President of the United States.
As people are watching these results come in,
we are going to make this decision now. Donald Trump will be the 45th President of the United States.
Does it ever seem to you that President Trump has done more than any president in modern history?
In the 10 years I've been involved in politics, I've never seen an administration hit the ground running like this.
I could spend the rest of the hour laying out the accomplishments under the Trump presidency, despite everything thrown at him.
The market just had its 12th straight record close.
Taking action to save as many kids as they can.
We were energy independent under the Trump administration.
More Americans reported being employed than ever before.
Those who have served our country in the military to get access to mental health care.
The Great American Outdoors Act is the largest single piece of legislation to support our national parks and public lands.
Created more than 7 million good-paying jobs.
Websites can be held liable in court for having sex trafficking content.
The Abraham Accords, which for any other president would have been multiple peace prizes.
America did not enter into a foreign war.
The employment rate in the U.S. fell to 3.5%.
The First Step Act eases federal sentencing for nonviolent offenders.
Increased funding for historically black colleges and universities.
Allows terminally ill patients easier access to experimental drugs.
Kept the inflation rate low.
Honored with the Bipartisan Justice Award.
Had a massive MS-13 gang problem.
3.9% is the unemployment rate.
Requiring airports to provide lactation rooms for breastfeeding mothers.
Middle-class family income increased nearly $6,000.
A dramatic escalation in his crackdown on illegal immigration.
An advocate for educational choice.
Tariffs on Mexico and Canada.
An act preventing animal cruelty and torture.
Taking out Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, Soleimani, the Iranian general.
Save Our Seas Act commitment to environmental issues.
We're saying Merry Christmas again.
Community development in low-income urban and rural communities.
Help us to remember the importance of fighting off tyranny.
Pulling out of UNESCO, the World Health Organization, the Paris Climate Accords, reassessing NATO and the United Nations.
Stood up for Christianity and the Constitution more than any president in American modern history.
We are stopping the attacks on Judeo-Christian values. Can you feel it coming? Do you miss me yet?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tabitha Hassell. Welcome to Tabs on Tap. Not unlike a lot of days, off to a rough start this morning. I got the show started what I thought was, again, off to a really great start. And the next thing I know, I get this message that Facebook has shut me down. So I went in and I thought, well, maybe it was something I did. I restarted, shut me down again. And I don't know what's going on. I was trying to go on the comment line and let all of you know what was going on, but it would not allow me to. So I apologize for that. But anyway, happy Friday. Off to hopefully a good morning. Genevieve overslept. You know what, Genevieve? I'm with you. I didn't oversleep, but I am so tired. I worked really late last night. So glad it is a Friday. Good morning, Ryan and Kim and Linda and Genevieve. And Ryan, yes, I am very tired. And my hair is all messed up. It's like I don't even care. I barely even brushed my hair today. I'm like, I'm just going to come on and do what I do and not even worry about it. It's Friday, right? It's even dark in here. I've got it dimmed. I got my pajamas on. This is what I slept in last night. It's going to be one of those kind of days. I probably shouldn't even tell everybody that. But either way, it is Friday. And you know what? I had to play that video at the start of the show because, yes, I do miss him. I absolutely do miss him. And I think all of us do. Every last one of us. Good morning, Darren. I hope you guys all had a really good night. I hope you guys have big weekend plans. I don't know if I have any weekend. I'm going to do something. I talked to my brother last night, and I think we might take the boat out and maybe do some fishing. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful day, a beautiful weekend from what I understand. I think the weather is going to be absolutely perfect. I don't like fall. I'm not at all a fan of fall. I don't like anything about fall. Because it's the head into winter, which I despise. But I know a lot of you probably love fall. So I'm sure that some of you are really looking forward to some of this beautiful fall weather, even if I am not. So much to talk about today, as always. Good morning, Karen and Dottie. Yes, there's so much to miss about Donald Trump, isn't there? There's so much to miss. And, and I was kind of surprised by this. And just by the way, if you're listening and you are not a Donald Trump fan, I totally get it. There's a lot of Republicans, a lot of good conservatives who just don't like him. And that's okay. You don't have to like him. But what you can't do is you can't vote for Harris. Regardless of how you feel for Trump, you cannot vote for Harris. You can't do that. You can't do that to your country. You can't do that to your fellow countrymen. Please don't do that. But I was really surprised, and I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Joe Rogan. Did you guys hear that Joe Rogan endorsed RFK Jr. over Trump? He said that RFK Jr. is what this country needs right now. I saw that, and I'm kind of wondering, is it going to affect his listenership? Are there going to be people who no longer follow him if he is not a Trump supporter? I don't know. I really don't know. Tara says personality and policy are two different things. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. There have been things that Trump has done that have irked me. There were times when I thought, man, if he would just stop, just stop sometimes. Sometimes he really keeps going. And I know that it's not that it bothers me, because it doesn't, but I know it bothers a lot of people on the fence. And sometimes I feel like saying, just stop. When he and Roseanne Barr, was it Roseanne Barr? No, it was the other lady. What was that lady's name? She was so inconsequential. I don't even remember. Rosie O'Donnell. When they were going back and forth, I'm like, you know what? Just leave it alone. But either way, you can't go Democrat on us. Joe Rogan is going Democrat on us. It's so crazy. I don't really know what's going on, because I don't have a problem with RFK Jr. He is, of the Democrat candidates, he's certainly the best one, certainly the most moderate, but he's still not one of us, is he? We still can't give it to the Democrats, can we? So I'm really surprised about Joe Rogan endorsing RFK Jr. And, we talked about Kyle Rittenhouse probably at one point last week, and how Rittenhouse had come out and spoken out against Trump and said that he thought Trump was going to be anti-gun. Now, where in the world did that come from? I don't even know. But Kyle Rittenhouse has backtracked on those statements, and he has since said that he was misinformed and that he absolutely fully supports and endorses Donald Trump. Not that we care what Rittenhouse says. I don't think he's swaying any votes, but I just thought that was interesting. And Crew, are you surprised by Rogan? Believe it or not, I have never listened to Joe Rogan's show. I have never listened. In fact, I've never listened to anyone's show. And the reason why is because I always feel like I like to have my own ideas and my own mind, especially when it comes to what I talk about and how I talk and how I do things. I want to be genuine. And so therefore, I always feel like if I listen to somebody else's radio show, somebody else's podcast, I don't want that to stick in my head, if that makes any sense. It probably sounds crazy, but I don't watch any podcasts. I don't watch any news. I read the news. I form my own opinion. And when you see me here talking, it's just me and how I would talk if you were standing in front of me. So I don't watch Joe Rogan. I don't have the faintest clue what he believes in, but I do know that he has a large following. There's a lot of people who follow him. And so therefore, I would assume there's a lot of people who take him seriously, people who count on him, for his judgment and what he brings to you. And I don't know. I'm kind of surprised by that. So Jay says, could RFK votes take away from Harris? I think so. I think so. Tara says RFK Jr. choosing Nicole Shanahan for VP disqualifies him for anything serious. I don't even know who Nicole Shanahan is. I don't have the faintest clue who that is. And I don't know about that, but as far as RFK Jr., I hope he successfully enters into the ballot. I hope that, we have the DNC convention coming up on August 19th, not 19th through the 22nd. I hope that he makes some waves. I hope that he takes some votes away. I still find it very hard to believe that most Democrats, or even the majority of Democrats, like Harris, but like I said yesterday, they don't know any of this stuff about Harris and Walz because they're watching CNN, they're watching the propaganda channels, MSNBC, your local news. Even your local news these days has been infiltrated, by the government. So they're not getting the truth. And I spend a lot of time wondering, how do we get the truth to the people who need to hear it the most? I mean, we're all sharing information. We're preaching to the choir, right? I mainly do this show because I'm not trying to reach Democrats because I know they're not listening. I do this show because I know you guys want to hear about what the latest news is, what's going on in the world, what's going on in our country. And, even I know we have people listening from all across the country, all across the world. And, and I try to bring the latest news to you, but it's for you. I know the Democrats are not listening to me. They're not going to listen to me. Some of the Democrat friends I had on Facebook have, once I started the show, they are no longer my Facebook friends. I think that once they started hearing a little bit of what I had to say, I think it kind of pushed them over the edge. Good morning, Amy. So how do we get to Democrats? How do we beat them? I don't know. Look at all the things that Democrats do. We've all talked about it 1,000 times. They are really good at getting people to the polls. They are really good at getting people to register to vote. They're really good at organization. Why can't we do that? Why can't we organize? I really don't know. And I think the only answer to that is that the GOP, who are the folks who would be organizing from the top down, they don't care. I really don't think they care. I don't think any of them support Trump, or at least the vast majority do not support Trump. I don't think they care enough to try to get people to vote. I don't know what else can you say? Because they're sure not doing a darn thing to get anyone out and to the polls. Now, are they? But there is some information. I wasn't planning on talking about this now, but I do have some information on the latest election stuff. I saw a poll by at politic_polls. Now, this was on X. And like any polls, just because I feel like it's in our favor, I'm not going to say it's any more valid than any other poll. The only thing about this poll that stood out to me is the number of people polled. And it could be that it was only reaching conservatives. I don't know. But they did poll. This was an online poll to which 152,273 people, as of last night, had voted. And of those 152,000 plus people, 75.4% people said they would vote for Trump, 20.2% Harris, and the other was 3.6% for whoever else, marked as other. And what was really strange was Jill Stein was on there. And I don't really know why. I mean, is there something going on with Jill Stein that I don't know about? But she had 0 votes. I don't even know why she was on this poll. 0 votes. But, when it comes to voting, we're making small wins. Small. But we are making some advancements. We really are. Virginia Governor Youngkin, did you see where he created an executive order 35, to require only paper ballots in the state of Virginia? So if you live in Virginia, you're going to be voting by paper ballot, unless for some reason that is challenged, which it could be. Paper ballots in Virginia. That's a start, isn't it? I mean, wouldn't that be great if we had every state or every red state saying, hey, we're only voting by paper ballot? Wouldn't that be nice? I don't see it happening. Why? Because because no one cares. No one cares. I'm kind of to the point where I think nobody cares. Voters don't care. Your governor doesn't care. Your Congress certainly doesn't care. The community doesn't care. Does anyone care besides us? I really think that we're the only ones. I don't know. It's really scary and terrifying to think that no one cares, that really it's just us. Robert says, how do we get to Democrats? I have no idea either. Most are so brainwashed, they won't even listen. They won't. I have friends, I've said this 1,000 times, I have friends that are Democrats, and they are really good people. They are. And, but one thing I noticed is that, and I'm not speaking badly about people that I know or people in my community, I'm trying not to anyway, but I did notice one thing, that the people I know who are Democrats are also not Christian. Most of them are atheists. And, and I know some people who are atheists who are still very good people. They, still make very good decisions, and they are still looking out for humanity. They just happen to not believe in God. And you can have your opinion on that either way. But I've noticed that people who are Christian tend to vote Republican. People who are atheist or Satanists or non-believers, or however you want to group them together, those folks vote Democrat. I think that's really strange. And I was trying to think in my head, do I know any Democrats who are Christian? And then, I do know a couple, but very, very, very few. Very few. Jay says, I don't know a single Democrat who will even listen. They just get mad and hurl insults. I don't even try to talk to my Democrat friends about politics. I actually try to avoid politics with all people in general outside of social media or the show, just because it feels like work to me. So when I'm at work, I don't talk about politics, because you don't talk about politics at work, and I don't go out very often. So that doesn't really give me a lot of avenues, to discuss politics. Jay says, too many rhinos and liberal judges who will block it. No question about it. I don't know how we get to Democrats. I really don't. I don't. If we knew the answer to that, I guess we wouldn't be where we are, would we? Maybe campaign ads. If there's a way that we could pay for campaign ads to be placed on MSNBC, and and I'm not talking about necessarily Trump campaign ads, but just campaign ads to a better way of life, a different way of thinking. I don't even know that would matter. I do wonder sometimes if somewhere back generations ago we had a DNA split where people who are so far left, and I'm not talking about moderate Democrats, but I'm talking about some people who are so far left, because they're not like us at all, are they? They do not listen to reason. They have no common sense, and I don't understand it. I'll never understand it, but we are not alike for some reason. I think we don't share the same DNA for some odd reason. Things have changed. Things have really changed. So did you guys see that Smartmatic, there's a lawsuit against Smartmatic? So their president and 3 other folks in the Smartmatic team, so they were indicted on bribery, money laundering as part of an election scheme. And this is really crazy. And I have the article here, and I want to make sure I read this correctly, because I want you to see exactly what these people are charged with. Because we've been talking about Smartmatic, for years, right? A lot of people believe that Smartmatic is what caused the election to go to Maduro over in Venezuela. A lot of people think that they have swayed the elections here many different times. A Smartmatic, most people are against using the Smartmatic system at the polls, because we know it opens the polls to cheating. So here is the actual article that I read. So this is a federal grand jury in the Southern District of Florida has indicted 3 executives of election voting machine and service provider Smartmatic, as well as a former chairman of the Commission on Elections. Now, this is in the Philippines, but we know this is happening right here in our own country, don't we? So this does relate to us. The men, including Smartmatic's own president, Roger Panatti, stand accused of facilitating at least $1 million in bribes. These bribes were reportedly made to secure and maintain business related to the provision of voting machines and election services for the 2016 Philippine elections, and to assure that one candidate won. What do you think about that? I mean, really, what do you think about that? Didn't it used to be conspiracy theory that Smartmatic was responsible for basically cheating in an election? You know, I'm trying not to say that C word because I know it'll get me in trouble. But don't we know that when a lot of people put their vote, your vote goes into the Smartmatic system, and then all of a sudden it changes who you voted for? You know, we know that people can access the Smartmatic system. Now we see, I think to me, this is proof that we were right all along. All along we were right. And all along, these people have made millions of dollars off of, literally off of changing elections. Who's paying them here in the United States? I'd really like to know. Margie says, I don't get it. As liberal as my something Christian, but hate the religious establishment. I'm not sure what you mean, Margie, but yes, it's really strange. I have friends who are Christians who also hate the religious establishment, if that's what you're saying. So, Robert, I wonder, Nazi Germany used fluoride to dumb down the people and make them malleable. So, is the communist, socialist, Marxist agenda, is it fueled by something similar, such as fluoride and other food and drink ingredients, or the shot? Seems logical to me, and nothing else makes sense. I wonder too. I mean, I keep trying to think what happened to where we divided so much. What happened to cause a certain segment of our population to have absolutely no common sense? I don't get it. For one segment of our population to be completely closed to the idea that this crazy far left stuff is actually socialism, that it's Marxism, that it's communism. They will not accept it at all. They don't believe it. You can put it in front of their faces. They don't believe it. They'll think you're crazy. They'll call you crazy. They may become violent, and they'll talk behind your back for sure. I don't understand it. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. I saw it happen. I heard it happen. But I don't really know what it was. I think something to do with a plug. So I apologize for that. I mean, you know, it's Friday. It's Friday. I mean, what else could go wrong? Robert says Nazi. Do not see it, by the way. It's spiritual in plain sight. You know, do they put things in our water but see, we all drink fluoride in our water. So I don't know if that would be it. I mean, what are they doing that we're not doing? Well, of course, with the vaccine, but this stuff started long before that. I don't know what is different now between what's happening now and what was happening before this great divide started. You know, I really do not know. Something happened. Oh man, did you guys see that Gmail is down? Do you use Gmail? I don't know if it's still down. I didn't care enough to look. But I did hear there was a worldwide outage of Gmail today. And who knows? You know, is it an attack? Somebody said, well, someone on Telegram. So, well, it could be a retaliation already for our support of Israel. They said Iranian hackers, you know, Russian hackers are always at it. I don't know if this is a technical issue. I don't know if it's a hack, but I did hear this morning that Gmail globally was down. I don't use Gmail email, so I do not know. I don't know. You know, did you see this? Did any of you guys watch Trump's speech at Mar-a-Lago? I had to work. I did not see it. Dottie says those strange clouds. We're going to talk about that, Dottie, because there are some strange clouds out there. So I thought this was interesting. Donald Trump said, this was yesterday. He said nobody was killed on January 6th. No one was killed on January 6th. What do you think that means? Because what about Ashley Babbitt? Why would he say that? Is it possible that he knows something we don't know? A lot of people, conspiracy theory said that Ashley Babbitt actually was an operative and that she was never killed, that it was all theater and it was all to make us look violent, and that really she is working with the military, working with the government, and it is alive and fine somewhere. Is that why he made the statement, or is it something else? This is very confusing to me that he said nobody was killed on January 6th. Did he mean maybe no police were killed or no one in Congress was killed? But I would think that such a blank statement. Robert says, I have heard the same regarding Ashley. I don't know what to think. Jay says, there is a conspiracy theory for everything regardless. There certainly is. I don't know, but I remember at the time in January 6th when Ashley Babbitt was murdered. I mean, I believe she was murdered, but maybe Trump knows something I don't know. But I remember at the time, a lot of people thought that her husband's statements were very odd. Now, I personally think that when people are grieving, everybody reacts in a different way. Everyone grieves in a different way. People are just different. Emotionally, they're just different. And a lot of people believe that his actions were maybe a little cold because she was really still alive and he didn't have that emotion of, I lost my wife, because he didn't. I personally do believe that Ashley Babbitt was killed. Now, Charles says Ashley Babbitt was murdered, not killed. That's what he means. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch. Maybe you had to watch it to get the context. So, Charles, hopefully that's the case. And she was absolutely murdered. No question about it. She was murdered. There was no reason for Ashley Babbitt to have been shot. Absolutely no reason. No reason. And if anybody knows, Ashley Babbitt was not trying to climb through that window. Do you guys remember seeing the video? The narrative was that she was trying to climb through the window, but she was not. She was actually trying to get another guy away from climbing through the window. Certainly, if you go back and look at those videos, you'll see exactly what I mean. And I believe that the person who was trying to climb through the window wasn't an Antifa member. He wasn't one of us. And she was pulling him back and trying to keep him out of the window, and she got shot. So Linda says, Ashley's mom and husband seem to believe she was killed. I think so. I absolutely believe she was killed. And Charles says, Ashley's mom, Mickey, is a damn good actress if she's still alive. I agree completely. And, I was on a couple of the different channels that I go on to look at some different types of news, and they were just going crazy over this. And Charles, you gave it a lot more dimension, stating that a really good perspective, that he meant she was murdered, not killed, because I absolutely do believe that something happened that day, that she was absolutely murdered that day. So that was something that was kind of going around. There's a lot of stuff today, different things, since it's Friday, I was going to bring up to talk about that maybe I wouldn't normally talk about, but I want to go back to Trump's speech, and then we'll get into many other things. I want to talk about some of the things I want to talk about is Scott Ritter. Now, Scott is a former UN weapons instructor. Inspector. He is the person who I was talking a little bit about yesterday, and then I just kind of ran out of time to play his video. He is the podcaster whose home was raided by the FBI. I want to play a statement from him. I want to talk about, have you guys heard, and this is not Conspiracy Friday, I promise. Have you guys heard about jumping timelines? That we might be jumping timelines? That's really confusing to me. And it's Project Looking Glass, I believe it's what it's called. I have never heard of this, but all of a sudden I've been reading so much about this, where people are saying, okay, if your birth date was this day, now in this new timeline, your birthday's really this day. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And we're going to get into that a little bit, because I'm very confused, and I'm hoping one of you can explain it to me, because I don't know. Now, did you guys see the latest about Governor Walz? We're going to be talking about that, because there is some crazy stuff going on right now, with Minnesota Governor Walz. Did you see Donald Jr.'s tweets about him? He posted, and it showed him with a milk mustache. I'm going to get into what that is about if I don't throw up. We're going to talk about that. Going to give the latest about Iran, what's taking place. Russia, they had several attacks in Russia last night, Crimea, into the Kursk region. Bangladesh, we're still having a lot of issues going on in Bangladesh. I want to talk about, we're always wondering, how do you invest? What do you do when you're in the middle of a global meltdown? So I have some different ideas, things that you can do. This is coming from an economist, and talk about how, things might be bad, but there are certainly things that we can do. But now Trump, according to his, if you guys did see his Mar-a-Lago speech, Crew says Tabs Project Looking Glass, Deep Matrix stuff must be, and we're going to talk about it. I did not see the Mar-a-Lago speech. I had to work late last night. I had a big event downtown to work, but I've got some clips, because obviously Trump thinks things are getting crazy. He thinks we're heading towards a depression, potentially a war. So I'm going to get into that really quick if you guys want to watch this video for just a moment.
We have a lot of bad things coming up. You could end up in a depression of the 1929 variety, which would be a devastating thing. Took many years, took decades to recover from it. And we're very close to that, and we're very close to a world war. In my opinion, we're very close to a world war. We have people that don't know how to handle it. They're not respected. All over the world, they're laughed at. And we can't have that. Most dangerous period of time I've ever seen for our country. That Kamala is in favor of not giving Israel weapons? Yeah. That's what I hear. Look, she's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad to Jewish people. And I say it, if anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for Kamala over me, they should have their head examined. If you think about it, I gave them Golan Heights. I gave them the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. I even built the embassy. I gave them no Iran deal. The problem is they didn't do anything with it. Iran was broke. We could have made a deal so easily. I would have had a deal done within 1 week after the election with Iran. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. We would have gotten along with Iran. I was looking forward to it. I was fine with Iran. You know, we hit them a couple of times pretty hard, but we would have been fine.
Are we heading into a depression? Are we heading into a war? I mean, it sure looks that way, doesn't it? It looks that way to me. I think it looks that way to you too. Now, I realized the other day we had the big stock market crash, and then of course things rebounded. I heard yesterday we have one of the better days since 2022. So, I mean, things go up and things go down. That's what happens in the stock market. But if we end up in a Harris Walz presidency and administration, and I think we all know it will. If that happens, how is our economy going to look? I mean, we already know they're not going to, they're certainly not going to be drilling for oil, right? That's not going to happen. We all know we're going to be paying a large price for crude oil from other countries because we don't use our own reserves. We're going to, of course, shut down on coal production and everything. We think everything has already gone to electric. Just wait. Just wait. You're all going to have a smart appliance, a thermostat in your home, and they're going to be controlling exactly what temperature you keep your home. They're certainly going to cut down on coal mining and coal production. I think it's going to be pretty bad. Jay says, many analysts are saying this rebound is only temporary. Oh, of course it's only temporary, because you know what? Because it's propped up on on what I call false narratives. What do we do when we get in trouble? We print out money. It's a temporary solution, isn't it? We print out money, and then what we happen? We end up in a state of overinflation, which is exactly where we already are now. Good morning, Karen. And Jay says they built an 800-acre solar farm near me on prime farm field. Oh man, there are solar farms going up all over the place. We know that our electric grid, even before they wanted everything to go electric, our electric grid would not support the electric we already use. There's already states who have rolling blackouts long before they decided to go all electric. Now we have California. You can't build a new home in California and use gas. It has to be 100% all electric. We know they're banning gas appliances. And eventually under Walz Harris, it's going to be every state. Every state is absolutely going to ban all gas appliances. Same for new construction. I don't know what they're trying to do to us, outside of control, because it's a lot easier to control you and your home and your vehicle if it's all electric, isn't it? A lot easier to control. I think that's what it's all about the control. And Jay says Illinois did an all renewable test and it lasted 1 second before being depleted. Of course. Cruz says Ameren closed down Merrimack plant. Now Festus Rush Island in October. Yeah, they are closing down like crazy. Good morning, Joe. I'm going to throw this in there really quick because, we all say good morning, don't we? There are people who text me each morning, good morning. I tell you guys good morning. Did you know that we're racist for saying good morning? I'm not sure if you knew that or not. According to a Black Lives Matter activist, we are absolutely a bunch of racists if we say the words good morning. So I'm going to play this little video clip for you, and I hope we can all laugh together because it is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I say good morning to everyone every day.
Do you know why you say the term good morning? Let's take it back to the plantation. Good morning was a term that the slave master used when a slave was unalived and the other slaves were in a state of grief, when they were in a state of mourning. They were crying, they were sad. To further taunt the rest of the slaves, the slave master would say good morning. And then he would want them to say it back. This is why I do not say the term good morning. We say grand risings, rich risings, abundant risings, glorious risings. We do not want to use that verbiage. Mourning literally means sadness. It's very important to know why you use.
Good morning. I have no idea why I restream every video I play. The last couple of seconds gets cut off. There's nothing I can do about that. I don't know why it does that, but it does. Anyway, so I thought that was so strange. I think that's like one of the strangest things I've ever seen. Jay says that's the stupidest comment I've ever heard. People have been saying that in every country for centuries. Yes. and it's like, what lengths do these people go to? It's mental illness, isn't it? It is mental illness. I have no other way to go around it. But you know what? That's what you're looking forward to, isn't it? That's what you're looking forward to, because our entire country is going to be taken over by a bunch of idiots. It already has been taken over by a bunch of idiots, but it is going to get far, far worse. Far worse. This is going to be very difficult for me to talk about. I don't like to talk about these things. I'm actually stressing about it. Did you see Donald Jr.'s tweet about Minnesota Governor Tim Walz? This is going to be so hard for me to show you and so hard to even read, but I have no choice but to do it because it is news. Did you see this, and do you know what it means? I'm very curious, and I'm going to read to you a news article. Now, it's kind of funny, and I'm glad I saved this when I did, because as soon as I went back to look at it, it was deleted. And so I managed to save this. I'm going to be mortified reading this to you, absolutely mortified. And I'm going to tell you right now that there's a photo here. And I don't think I saved this photo here for you guys to see because I'm going to read it to you. But I'm going to tell you, it looks like Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, sure looks like him with this article. It was in Reuters, and I don't know when this was. It was quite some time ago. This was posted online, and this is what Donald Trump Jr. is referring to, and this blows my mind. I'm going to read this article to you. It's going to be very difficult to do. Please don't throw up. I might throw up. This is the article. And it looks like Crew has the article also. It says, Nebraska man. Oh, here, the title is Neighborhood Nay, like horse. I kid you not. This is in Reuters. Dare goes wrong. And it says Nebraska man hospitalized after unusual over-ingestion incidents. August 30th, 1995, in West Point, Nebraska, in a bizarre and unprecedented medical emergency, Tim Walz, a local resident of West Point, Nebraska, was rushed to West Point General Hospital last night after reportedly over-ingesting horse semen. Yep, you read that right. Oh, the incident, which has left the community in shock and disbelief, has sparked conversation about the dangers of consuming unconventional substances. Come on, unconventional substances? And, oh my goodness. Emergency responders were called to Mr. Wall's residence around 11 p.m. after he began experiencing severe abdominal pain and distress. According to paramedics on the scene, Mr. Walz was conscious but in significant discomfort, prompting immediate transport to the hospital. The Dr. Amanda Thompson, the attending physician at West Point General, confirmed that Mr. Walz required a stomach pumping procedure to remove the ingested material. This is an extraordinary case, Dr. Thompson remarked. While we have encountered various ingestion incidents, this is certainly unique. The patient is currently stable and under observation. Details surrounding the circumstances of the ingestion remain unclear. Friends and family of Mr. Walz expressed their shock, noting that he is known for his adventurous spirit, but had never engaged in such activities. It says at the hospital they're not equipped to handle certain. They go on. The doctor says, Dr. Thompson, that our bodies are not equipped to handle certain materials. What might even seem like a harmless or humorous act can quickly turn dangerous. As the community grapples with this unusual incident, many are left wondering what could have led Mr. Walz to make such a risky decision. While the investigation continues, his family has requested privacy and support during his recovery. Mr. Walz's ordeal serves as a stark reminder at the importance of making safe and informed choices. Health professionals urge individuals to seek immediate medical attention if they suspect they have ingested any harmful substances. Stay tuned to West Point Daily News for updates in this developing story. I mean, this is real. This is real. Isn't this real? I mean, how could Reuters report it? This was in 1995. It was really hard for me to read that to you guys because I seriously feel like I'm going to throw up. And it never does go on to say why he did this. I don't have the faintest clue why he did this. Some people said it was a joke. I don't know. I don't even want to know. My stomach is ill thinking about it. But this is true. Now, if you had this in your past, would you run for any political office? Talk about a skeleton. Holy cow. That's a skeleton. And it's disgusting. And I can't imagine any reasonable explanation to have done this. No explanation whatsoever. I don't know how this came about. I don't want to know. Oh, I'm getting faint talking about it. It's making me sick. Anyway, so that's going to disappear from the news very quickly, as is his stolen valor. Have you noticed the Harris campaign has completely scrubbed his rank from all of their media? It is no longer there. But I noticed that Democrats that we all know and love, they haven't figured that out yet. They're still saying he was a sergeant major, that he retired as a sergeant major. Did not happening. Not true. And Sherry says, did we hear this straight from the horse's mouth? I wonder if nobody ever talked about the horse. What happened to the horse? Oh my goodness, crew, VP pick. I'm in Bosnia in 95 and he's guzzling. Oh, I'm going to be sick over it. I can't even think about it. I wasn't going to talk about it because I was worried. I might need a drink of water. Man, that makes me sick. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about something with Walz because, something that no one is talking about. We've talked about it here on this show. I posted it on Facebook last night. No one is talking about it. Have you heard this anywhere in the media, even on Fox National? I've not heard it anywhere. And that is, except for us talking about it here, and me talking about it in the past. So when Walz, of course, as governor of Minnesota, when the George Floyd protests were taking place in Minneapolis, St. Paul, as I referred before, when I played the video of his wife the other day talking about how she kept the windows open so she could smell the burning tires. I don't know if that made her feel better about the situation. She wanted to feel part of it from inside of her home, smelling the burning tires. She's made other statements too. She has made other statements saying that the reason why they didn't call the National Guard in sooner is because they wanted to allow these people, these marginalized people, to air their grievances, to go out and allow some of their anger to escape, because she felt that they had every right to be angry. But in the meantime, there was a pawn shop. It was called Maxit Pawn Shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's Minneapolis, St. Paul area. Violent protesters set fire to that building. There's video of it. There is a video. You can see an arsonist go inside the pawn shop and pour gasoline around and light the place on fire. You can watch the video. I've seen it. And do you know, inside that building was Oscar Stewart Jr. Oscar Stewart Jr. was in that building, and he died. He was burned alive in that building. And no one knew. There's a video of it. You can hear him screaming in the background. And I watched the video. I listened to it. It made me sick. No one that night reported that there was a man in the building. No one reported hearing the screams. Now, granted, it was loud out there while people were walking back and forth, but this man died, and his body wasn't found for days after. Nobody even knew he was in there. His family reported him missing, and then eventually they found him. Jay says, Fox talked about this both, Hannity and Ingram. Are you talking about, Jay, about Oscar Stewart Jr.? I hope they have. I hope everyone's talking about it, because it needs to be talked about. While we have Minnesota Governor Walz delaying the National Guard coming in to these very violent protests, we have people being burned alive. And there were other deaths also. I know there was a man who was found in his vehicle who had been, I believe, shot to death, and they were still investigating, and I never heard anything further what happened to that man. 1,500 businesses burned, but $50 million, was it? $1 million in damages right there in that city. And his own daughter told Antifa and Black Lives Matter where to go to avoid the National Guard. Take a look at this. Do you see this? Hope Walz. That's Tim Walz's daughter. She clearly says here, could someone who actually has followers relay to the mass? She says relay. She meant relay to the masses that we have gotten the National Guard trending, that the Guard will not be present tonight. There's a lot of misinformation that is further spreading fear and chaos at the scene of the protests. Hope goes on to say, the Guard cannot be sent in within minutes. It takes time for them to deploy because they come from all over the state. To be clear, the National Guard will not be present tonight, basically meaning, hey, you better get out there. And somebody replies, urgent. If you're at the protest, get out now. National Guard, SWAT en route. They're almost here, and we'll be using city buses to arrest everyone, as many people as possible. Get everyone out. Screenshot, retweet, and share this. And she goes on to say, Hope Walz, just because someone asks for something doesn't mean it's happening right away or even happening at all. I don't know about SWAT, but what I do know is the Guard will not be present arresting people tonight. So what she is doing is she is telling people that this Sean Lim, he went out, he was telling people, hey, get out now because the SWAT team, the National Guard, they're coming. They're going to arrest you. And she says, no, that's not going to happen. Why? Because her dad is the governor. She knows it's not going to happen. And, it wasn't even Walz that called in the National Guard. It wasn't even him. I remember this as clear as the day can be because I remember watching it live. It was the mayor of Minneapolis that called in the National Guard, not Walz. It was the mayor. And I had to go back this morning and look because I'm thinking, am I remembering that right? And I went back and looked at old news articles from that time. And yes, it is absolutely true. It was the mayor that called in the National Guard, not Walz. So this guy, I mean, he's just further destruction to our country, isn't it? I mean, think about this. As we move forward, let's say under a Harris-Walz presidency, what's going to happen to, we already know the problems we're having with 911 calls, right? Is that going to get better? No. Are we going to have more police hired? No. Are we going to have police trained better? No. Will they have more equipment? Absolutely no. U.S. citizens, are your guns rights going to be protected? Absolutely not. Is our Constitution going to be protected? Absolutely not. They are going to dismantle our Constitution. No question about it. There will be no sanctity for anything. And I had mentioned to you guys about Scott Ritter, because this is where things are going. We're going to be targeted ourselves. This is not just about the government. This is about losing your freedom of speech. I don't have anything really too new to share on the UK, but as I played some videos yesterday, we've talked for several days now about the arrest taking place in the UK. As a matter of fact, some of the videos we showed on this show, there was a man who was always kind of front and center, and I've posted some of his videos to Telegram, but this guy wasn't really doing anything. On a cane, disabled guy. He would kind of walk around in front of police, and the police assaulted him at one point. He wasn't doing anything other than standing there, just your typical civilian. Do you know they arrested that guy the other day, and they sentenced him to 26 months in prison. And for doing what? Because he attended these protests. He didn't hurt anyone. He didn't harm anyone. He didn't assault anyone. He didn't do anything. He just happened to be at the front of the protests. And he would get up and kind of walk in front of the police. And the police, assaulted him in one of those videos. He didn't do anything to provoke it other than just walking past. 26 months in prison. So we have a podcaster here right in the United States, Scott Ritter. He was a former UN weapons inspector. He had his house raided. Why? Because he speaks out. It's, his opinion. He speaks out about Israel, and he claims that Israel is responsible for a genocide in Gaza. And guess what happens? Guess what happened? The FBI raided his home. They took his cell phone, his computer, all of his electronics. For what? For speaking out. So I'm going to play his speech, and then let's see here, and we'll talk about that for a moment.
Will tell you right now, I am not in violation of the Foreign Agent Registration Act. I have not done anything that would do it, and hopefully by executing the search warrant and taking the materials that they did, they will rapidly reach that conclusion. I will say that things like this have a chilling effect on free speech. There's no doubt that I'm being targeted because of statements I've made about U.S. policy in Ukraine. I'm being targeted because I have made an effort to try and improve relations between the United States and Russia, to try to bring about arms control, to bring about peace. Apparently somebody in the U.S. government takes umbrage at this, so they executed a search warrant. The FBI was extraordinarily professional. I have no complaints against the personnel that did this. I do have complaints against the personnel that caused this to happen. This has a chilling impact on free speech. The idea that you have a free speech right in America, when you execute it in a manner that the U.S. government takes exception to, and they launch a search warrant, that is an intimidation factor. I can say that I am not intimidated, and I will continue to speak out, and I will continue to do what I do, because that's my responsibility as an American citizen, and I will continue.
Well, that's, FBI coming to a home near you, right? I mean, it could happen to any of us. And Donna, you said that video where he got arrested, never said why. Maybe he threatened our president. And I'm not sure, Donna, if you're referring to the guy in the UK or if you're talking about Scott Ritter or someone else. The guy in the UK definitely did not threaten the president. In fact, they've been very open in talking about, sorry, my earpiece came out because I have really weird little tiny ears. So that's also a story for another day. Oh, Charles, you couldn't hear the video? I'm sorry. It wasn't very loud. He spoke very quietly, and I had it up as loud as I could possibly get it. Now, the guy in the UK, I read the news article about it. He's not accused of doing anything. He just happened to be at the forefront of the protest. That was it. There was nothing else to it. 26 months in prison. But we have a lot of other people who received a year sentence or, several months sentence, 14-month sentence for just comments on social media. So a 26-month sentence for just being there, being at the forefront is not out of the ordinary at all. Over with what's happening over in the UK, not unusual at all, because they are handing out prison sentences left and right to citizens, not to migrants, only to citizens. And if you saw Scott Ritter's video right there, and I'm sorry if you guys could not hear it, he just basically went on to say that the FBI who raided his home, he didn't have any problem with them. They were, polite to him, etc. They were just there doing their job. He's just upset, of course, with the government, with the organization above it, the people who launched the investigation into him. He's a podcaster. Yes, he's a former UN weapons inspector, so he knows a lot about what's going on in the government. But he's a podcaster. That's it, just a podcaster. He's telling the truth on his podcast. Several people have come out and spoken out on his behalf. Former CIA agent I saw spoke out on his behalf. And he said the same thing. He said the government, they are coming for him and they're coming for you. Because if you speak the truth, they're going to do everything they can to shut you down. Everything they can. And speaking of that, remember I was just talking about that situation with Elon Musk? And Elon Musk also, remember he was suing, it was Rumble and X. They were suing the World Federation of Advertisers. Do you remember that? Now, the World Federation of Advertisers, what they do, they're a group and they purchase ads on different social media platforms. And they are certainly very anti-conservative. They are far, far, far all the way to the left. And so they had boycotted X and boycotted Rumble because of course, disinformation. And they were trying to put them out of business is what they were doing. Because of course, they want to ban any platform that allows the sharing of truth. So I have an update on that the World Federation of Advertisers, they closed. They disbanded because they did not want to face a lawsuit from Rumble and X. So they disbanded. They are no more. And for us, you may not know this, but you may not have even heard of them before. But this is a big win for us because these people are responsible for putting so much propaganda into social media advertising, so much propaganda, far, far left propaganda. They disbanded. Somebody will take their place, but they disbanded. So they will not be out there propagating their lies any further. And you know what? And now maybe platforms like X and Rumble will actually get some good advertisers and be able to carry on with telling the truth, because those are two of the platforms. I think Telegram, Rumble, and X right now are the only free and clear platforms that we have on social media. Now, Truth Social, I like Truth Social too. It's just a little, for me, harder to navigate. There's not as many people there. But if you want to get some truth out, get to Telegram, X, and Rumble, of course. And, speaking of Elon Musk also, I've been kind of telling you guys every day because I think it's absolutely hilarious how often Elon Musk is mentioned in the news. All of a sudden, his opinion literally means everything. And according to Venezuelans' new president, fake president, Nicolas Maduro, I've read several comments from him over the past few days. He is still attacking Elon Musk. He hates him. I mean, he absolutely hates him. He called him his arch enemy, a couple weeks ago, a week ago. Then he said that the gringos and Elon Musk are single-handedly causing all of these violent protests in Venezuela. But it's so funny that he keeps singling out Elon Musk, I mean, yes, he offers us a great platform. He does a lot of really great things. I don't think he's causing an uprising in Venezuela. I really don't. But now maybe because he's allowing the truth to be told, maybe there are Venezuelans who are able to realize what's really happening to them because they can see the truth out there somewhere. So Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, he has banned X for 10 days. I think he hopes that if people can't get to the truth, that they will stop protesting. Yeah, Sherry, you just said the same thing. Maduro is prohibiting X for 10 days. I mean, is Elon Musk is he really that influential? I don't think it's him. I think it's his platform, right? It's because he actually has a platform where you can speak the truth. I personally love it. I hated Twitter. I love X. I absolutely love it. And if you're not a member, if you haven't signed up because you hated Twitter, get on there, get on X, create an account, because I'm telling you what, if you're going to see some truth, it is going to be there. Never get a banned. Nobody has ever said one word to me about anything. I've had no jail sentences. Nothing has happened there. None of my posts have been taken down. I think it's a great platform to dive into and really see what's going on, not only here in your own country, but around the world. And speaking of X, something I came across on there today that whether you'll see this in mainstream news, probably not. Brian Kennedy. Now, Brian Kennedy gave a speech and he was talking about China. We're all concerned with ballots and what's taking place with this election cycle for good reason, for very good reason. We just talked about Smartmatic and how the 3 executives and the president of Smartmatic being indicted for bribery, money laundering, swaying elections. No surprise to any of us. Well, Brian Kennedy said that they expect China to print off a mass number of ballots. So they believe that, we obviously we have a mail-in ballot system. So he believes that what's going to happen is that somebody, you can figure that out on your own, is going to purchase these fake ballots from China. And people who mail in their votes, there's different systems. Every state is a little bit different. And how you verify mail-in voting, it's not very secure. Some people actually say California has a more secure system. Not mail-in ballots are not very secure. Well, they claim that China is going to print out thousands, hundreds of thousands of blank mail-in ballots, and they're going to make sure that they get in the hands of Democrats. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But that is what Brian Kennedy is stating, that he believes that China is poised to make that transaction. And China will do it. They don't care. They're all about money, right? I don't know if they care either way where our election goes. They probably would love for Harris and Walz to win because they want us to be weak. We talk about all of these other countries and everything that's going on around the world, but China is our true enemy. It's certainly not Russia. We have nothing to fear from Russia unless we get in the middle of this mess in Iran. Then we might have a lot to fear. Russia, they actually promote traditionalist values. It was kind of strange to me, some of the things I was reading about Russia, this past week. And I've studied Russia for a long time, and Putin and everything that's going on there. Putin has made several statements that their country is traditional. They believe in the traditional marriage, the traditional family unit. They are also having problems with migrants in Russia. And it's gotten to the point in some areas in Russia where migrants have taken over certain industries, taxi cabs and liquor stores, tobacco stores. And so there are parts of Russia that create a referendum that's going to take place. I believe it's March 1st of 2025. And they have stated that migrants will no longer be able to drive cabs. They will no longer be able to work in the taxi industry, and they will no longer be able to work in the retail sales of alcohol and tobacco. So that is how Russia takes care of a migrant problem. And they recognize that migrants have taken over these industries. They have displaced Russian citizens in these industries, and they had a solution. Now, wouldn't that be nice if in our own country we see a problem and we come up with a solution? Wouldn't that be nice? But that never happens, does it? We see the problems. We see a lot of problems, but we see no solutions. No solutions. And I thought that was really nice that Russia's ahead of things. I think Russia, I don't think that Russia's our enemy. I think China's our enemy. But something that I've been watching the shift of, and something I'll be talking a lot about as the podcast continues, granted the powers that be, the platforms allow me to continue. I was kind of off to a rough start today, and most days. I see a lot of countries aligning together against us. And I've said this for a couple of years now. It's nothing new for me to say this, that I don't believe that we, the United States, are a superpower anymore, or the superpower. We still have a fantastic military. We are still on top of our game to some degree as far as our military goes. We have nuclear weapons. I guess that's in our favor. We have a lot of jets. That's in our favor. But we're low on fuel from what I understand. And it's hard to go to war if you don't have stockpiles of fuel. But I see that Russia and Putin are being sought after. I guess I should say sought after. Because world leaders, have you noticed they're not meeting with Joe Biden? How often do any world leaders meet with Joe Biden? Very rarely. He's had a couple of meetings here and there, but nothing too significant. Putin, on the other hand, all the world's on fire right now, right? Well, guess who all these world leaders are meeting with? They're meeting with Putin, right? I just saw this Bashir al-Assad, the president of Syria, meeting with Putin. Putin went to China recently to talk about world relations, to try to come up with some solutions with Israel. He's traveling all over. He is the man to talk to. And I think if we don't start waking up and realizing the power of BRICS, we're going to be in big trouble. Because outside of the United States and Europe, everyone's against us. They are all coming together and forming this big, powerful community of countries. And we're destroying ourselves from within, aren't we? Look at the UK. They're in a civil war. Man, they've got a mess over there. They have a big mess. And speaking of, I want to show you this photo. I'm not going to really talk about this because I don't really know the scope of what was going on. But I thought it was funny. I think you'll think it's funny that this took place. And oh my gosh, let me find it. I know it's here. Here we go. Do you know who this is? Speaking of Europe. Now, what in the world is going on here? Obviously, I can't add any context to it. So I'm not going to talk about it. But something to think about. This is where Europe is going. And it's not about, it's about, I don't know. I'm not even going to get into it because I don't know what the context is of that photo. But we all know who that is. And what he's doing, I do not know. But what I do know is we, the United States, in Europe, we're destroying ourselves from within. We invited this invasion into our country, didn't we? We're trying to turn all of our citizens into these crazy, super far left, super liberals. And by doing that, we are weakening our countries. And I don't think we're going to be able to hold out much longer against BRICS. I really don't, because these folks are all coming together. In fact, a couple of different countries, Turkey, South Africa, Egypt, Spain, Mexico, Chile, they are all accusing Israel of genocide in Gaza. And they said there's more countries who are going to be added to the list in the coming days. They said that they have taken this to the International Court of Justice, and they are claiming that there's a genocide taking place, and they are coming out very strong against Israel. And, speaking of Israel, last night, allegedly Israel, had some preemptive strikes into Gaza. And it's kind of crazy when you watch this video. I'm going to show you a video in a second. They came into the certain area and they told people, hey, one thing they do, Israel will say, okay, well, we've spotted some Hamas figures in a certain area. So we want all of the people to evacuate. Now, I don't really understand, I guess, the method behind this, because obviously if you're telling people, hey, we're going to bomb this area, we need all of you to evacuate so we can attack the Hamas. Well, don't Hamas leave too? I really don't understand everything that's behind all of this. I don't get it. But either way, that's what happened. And they did launch several strikes into Gaza yesterday. And I will tell you, I absolutely support Israel. No question about it. I will never deny that. But at the same time, I also support humanity. I think humanity is number one. And I want to see all of this war stop. I don't want to see Israel strike anyone. I don't want to see Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, us, Yemen, Bangladesh. I don't want any of us to lose our lives, because we're all in the same game of war, aren't we? We're all just pawns. These people I'm going to show you, they're pawns. We are pawns. The people in the UK, pawns. Bangladesh, all pawns. All pawns of a big game of war, isn't it? So these are people evacuating in Gaza yesterday. ahead of preemptive strikes against Hamas. We don't need any music, but I just wanted to show all of you these folks walking through and look around them. I mean, there is nothing left. There is absolutely nothing left. I have no idea what's going to happen to all of these people. Where are they going to live? I mean, at some point, there's going to be some humanitarian actions that are going to take place, and these people are going to have to leave Gaza. I mean, there's nothing there. The entire area has been completely demolished. These people are living in these ruins, and then they move to another area, and the ruins are destroyed further. Then they move to another area, destroyed further. There's nowhere left for them to live. Where are they going to go? Because at some point they are going to have to leave. And Jay says Israel had no choice but to placate those who didn't want them to respond. Trust me, I get it. And Jay says, name one other country to ever warn citizens to leave. They all do. They all do, Jay. Everybody warns citizens to leave. It's so strange to me, the new way of war. If we're going to bomb someone, we tell everybody to leave. We drop pamphlets down and say, hey, evacuate, we're getting ready to bomb you. It's so strange to me, but it actually happens all the time. And I don't really understand the new concept of war. You think you would want it to be a surprise, but it never is. Iran's still quiet, nothing going on. A lot of people believe that Iran is either biding their time while they get everything ready, or that maybe they don't have the capability of a real strike. Maybe they don't want to do it because of economic reasons. A lot of different things are going on. I personally believe that Iran will have a retaliation. But, we yesterday, us, the United States, we threatened Iran with a devastating blow to their economy. Now, can we devastate their economy? I don't really think we can. I think that's kind of an empty threat, because we know their economy is going to be protected by China, Russia, and all of BRICS. I don't really think there's anything we can do. But Israel, they are making some preemptive strikes. I think they feel like they have to make the first move and hopefully scare Iran into not retaliating. I think that's what they're at least trying to do. So yesterday, Israel launched some strikes into Shayrat Air Force Base over in Syria. Now that's not uncommon. So when you see that in the news today, don't get too crazy about that, because that Air Force Base, people strike it all the time. It's kind of like if Iran does something stupid, we strike their Shayrat Air Force Base. If Syria does something stupid, we strike the Shayrat Air Force Base. So don't get too crazy into that it really means anything, because it really doesn't mean a whole lot, at least not at this point. But something that does mean something is Russia. Last night, Ukraine launched just a huge offensive against Russia. I think it was 75 drones into Russia, into the Kursk region. They had 7 unmanned ships that went into Crimea, and they were all destroyed, allegedly. Russia says they were all destroyed. I don't know if that's true or not, but either way, that's a really big move for Ukraine. And I saw something that I thought was really unusual, is that Canadian mercenaries are fighting for Ukraine. I didn't even know Canada had mercenaries. Did you? I mean, that doesn't even make sense to me. It almost seems like so ironic. How can it possibly be? But they do. Canada has mercenaries. They're in Ukraine fighting. Why? I don't know. But Ukraine has lost this war. I mean, they have lost. We continue to give them money. We continue to fund them. And do you know, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but Ukraine claims they're bankrupt. We've given them all this money, and they should have billions of dollars stockpiled, shouldn't they? It makes no sense that they could be bankrupt. They're so bankrupt that they can't even keep up with their payments that they have to make. And we're trying to bail them out again. Of course we are. Makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. While Zelensky, what is he worth now? About $50 billion, but the country is bankrupt. I think we know exactly what's going on, don't we? We know exactly what's going on. So I wanted to make sure we talked a little bit about that. No new news. We might have something a little bit more on Monday. Some people think that there could be airstrikes today, but they have been saying that every single day. But we all know, what's it all about, really? It's about money. It's about power. It's about gold. I mean, oil. Look how many countries we, the United States, have destroyed over those things. We have, and I could go over the names, Libya, Syria, Iraq. There's been so many, Yemen. There's so many different countries, Lebanon. There's so many. We've done a lot of destruction over money. So I thought when I saw this video, I thought it was pretty interesting because it talks about the origins of money. And these were things I didn't even know. I found it interesting. I thought you might find it interesting. Something that has become, isn't that what civilization is about now? How much you have, how much money you have, how many things you have, your material possessions. How did it all start? And I think the origin of money, which is something I've never heard before. I've never heard how this all came about. I've kind of pictured it in my head. So we're going to play a video here and we're going to talk about the origins of money.
So what is money? Money is a technological advancement of commerce. 4,000 years ago, you owned a beautiful plot of land with great, beautiful olive trees. And I owned 50, maybe 70 cows. And I saw that plot of land. I said, you know what? I want that plot of land. You already have cows, actually, so you don't need the cows that I have, so we can't actually transact. So I have to go sell my cows for some pigeons because you want the pigeons. Now I come back, I bring you the pigeons. One of them dies, so I have to go back and get another pigeon. And then finally I get the plot of land. Now you have the pigeons, and you have to go figure out somebody that wants pigeons in exchange for you to get the next service or the next good. So the problem was with the bartering system, there was no ability to scale, no ability to build monopolies, because there was no ability to sustain wealth, and there's no medium of exchange that we both agreed upon. We introduced the next form of bartering, the next form of commerce, coinage. Coinage is a technological revolution. It was the first time that we all agreed upon what was something and what was the store of value. So successful merchants, kings, they began to hoard it, and they began to build treasuries, and now they began to conquer more lands because they no longer were limited by the limitations of bartering. You could take the coins, they wouldn't rot. You would sell the gold in China, you would sell the gold in India, you would sell the gold in Paris, and it would still be counted as gold. So now you had the ability for scale. The issue was, now kings started realizing, hey, maybe I can shave a little bit off the top of the coin and make some new coins. And you know what? Maybe the people won't notice that I'm printing coins out of thin air. Maybe I'll add some alloy or some metal instead of the silver, diluting the currency. So they began to realize, hey, coinage now can be forged. So we need another system. Now people can no longer have their own system. We need to have something centralized. Everybody's managing on gold. The banks are holding gold. Let's get rid of the gold standard. Let's introduce paper money. Paper money, obviously, if you have, let's say, a kilo worth of gold, you can't be carrying that with your horse hanging around town. No, you have paper receipts that the bank gives you. And people began exchanging paper receipts. The receipts of what? The units of gold that were in the bank. But then the banks got cheeky and they said, you know what? Nobody's checking our bank reserves. So what if we issue more paper than we actually have gold reserves? And the French noticed. They're like, hey, these motherfucking Americans, they're printing more paper, handing it out to people than the gold that they have in the reserves. So they came in and they wiped out all the reserves, collapsing the economy. So what did they have to do? They had to introduce the gold standard. Getting rid of the gold standard. Why? Well, now we just can print as much money as we want and it's not pegged by gold. And now we were introduced with paper. And then credit cards rolled around. Yeah, I still had to go into the bank and deal with paper, but I could transact and buy things with a piece of plastic. Okay, so now digital money was introduced. But now we have the battle of what is the digital money that we want to adopt. And in these new crossroads of technological advancement, you have something that's born known as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the permissionless open ledger. Everybody knows how much of it exists, who owns what based off of, obviously you don't know who owns what wallet, but you know what wallet owns how much. Everything is open, everything is transparent, and everything is what? Peer-to-peer. It's the purest form of going back 2,000 years and transacting gold bar for gold bar in a digital format. It is the evolution of money. It is the natural evolution of money. Now you have the old system, the banking cartel, that takes a fee off of us transacting. So what is the rule or what is the need of a bank today? What is the purpose of a bank? Well, Luke, the purpose of the bank is to store your deposits. No, a bank does not hold deposits. If they hold deposits, why do they give you interest on your deposit? It's not a deposit. The moment they give you an interest on it, it's a loan. You're loaning them money, they're giving you an interest, they're taking that money, they're investing it. It's not a deposit, it's a loan. Once they give you interest, that thing becomes a liability on their balance. What you're seeing displayed on your checking account is just a record of how much the bank owes you. So the purpose of the bank isn't to hold deposits. Well, the purpose of the bank, Luke, is to fractionalize money. Well, no, that's not the purpose of the bank. It doesn't fractionalize money. Well, what's the purpose of the bank? The purpose of the bank is credit creation. It creates loans. It's in the business of buying and selling securities. So the bank is in the business of credit creation, and everything around us is getting inflated and more expensive due to the fact that we're creating credit that is being utilized to buy Louis Vuitton bags. It's not productive credit. It's not credit that adds to the GDP. We enter a situation whereby the dilution of our money becomes so big that we no longer trust it. But now we enter a very dangerous situation. If we don't have an alternative payment system, the tokenization or the programmability of digital money, like a central bank digital currency, becomes very scary. Because now they don't want to just issue the currency, they want to control the rules as to how you can use the currency. So for example, hey, Riz, you've already spent, you spent 2 hours already with the light on, now your light gets turned off because your curfew's up. And if not, we'll turn off your power bill and your cards won't work. Oh, you didn't get vaccinated? Oh, you went 5 kilometers past your house curfew? No worries, your cards just won't work. You have no freedom. Back in the day, at least you had cash, you could do whatever you wanted. So is that the system that you want? The answer is no. What is the alternative system to that digital revolution, that next advancement of money? In my opinion, it's Bitcoin, digital currencies, things that are decentralized. So it's a little bit of how I've been thinking about and theorizing this idea of Bitcoin and rationalizing whether digital currencies, decentralized ones, fighting against centralized institutions are going to last. And I think people will fight for it.
What do you think about that? To me, that's powerful. I think that's powerful. Donna says, I didn't think it was actual dollars that we gave to Ukraine. Yeah, we gave them actual dollars. We gave them lots of actual dollars and equipment. I know that was a little bit of a long video, but I loved his explanation of how we went from point A to point B. And now here we are. And cryptocurrency, whether you like it or not, it absolutely is. It is the future. There's no way around it. It is the future. Genevieve says, the video is great. Can you share it? Absolutely. I will share it to my Telegram as soon as the show has ended. Good and well, I will not be able to share that anywhere else. Maybe to X, but not to the F and the B, because we know what will happen to me then. But I thought it was a great video too. Russia just yesterday announced that they are going to legalize crypto mining. Now, I'm not here to promote crypto. I personally do own a lot of crypto, and I also got really burned in the crypto market as well. But I think it's something we all need to keep an eye on. But what I think is most eye-opening about the video is to talk about the banks. I always say, and I'm sure you do too, that when you look at your bank statement, when you pull up your balance and it says you have X number of dollars in the bank account, you really don't. You really don't. Those are just blips on a screen. If something ever happened in this country, and let's say we had a severe hacking and they wiped the slate clean of all these banks, guess what? You would have a balance of zero. If you go to your bank and let's say you want to take out $15,000 in cash because you want to go make a purchase, your bank doesn't typically have that money there. You have to call a day ahead of time and ask them so they can have the cash there. And I know that sounds crazy, but I've made big purchases before, and that's what I've had to do. So I know that is the case. It is a loan. You're giving that bank your money, and they are investing your money. And when they make bad investments, guess what happens? They lose your money. We have a lot of banks that have closed, and a lot of them are on the brink of closing. We're probably at a very scary time right now, actually, when it comes to banking. Jay says, biggest mistake this country ever made was stopping the backing of gold. No question about it. And you know what? A lot of countries, BRICS countries, not Europe, not United States, are beginning to back their currency in gold. That's why I keep saying they're going to be so far ahead of us because they see the writing on the wall, not us. They would rather just take our money. Pam says, my account was frozen because I made an internal transfer. Yes. Isn't that crazy that a bank can freeze your money? That's your money that they freeze. It makes no sense. And you know good and well, you step across the line in the wrong direction, they're going to freeze your bank accounts. Margie says, is a good check as well as cash? I don't know. Donna, remember silver certificates? Yes, I do remember silver certificates. I don't trust the bank. Of course, I don't trust anything, but I definitely don't trust the banks. I think we're on the brink of a complete collapse of our financial system. The blink of an eye, everything we have could just be gone, just gone. And if things really get too crazy, and I know I'm not saying the sky's falling, I don't expect this to happen anytime soon. But if things get too crazy, we've seen it happen in other countries. They will limit how much money you can take out of your bank at once. And, I wanted to talk a little bit about, speaking of money, some different things. There was an economist who posted this information, and it was actually more than one economist. Several different economists got together and they gave their tips on literally how you can invest smart, how you can save your wealth during a global crisis. And take it with a grain of salt, but I thought I would at least go through some of these and give you guys some general guidance as to what some of these economists are thinking. And Charles says credit unions are safer than banks. I do agree. I belong to a credit union. I would literally die. Before I put $1 in Bank of America, US Bank, or any of those big conglomerates. Never going to happen. Donna says banks are scared that you're going to want to draw all of your money out, just like a depression. They absolutely are. And I talked about this earlier this week. When it comes to banking is, think of it like a pyramid. Okay. You don't want, if you rush the banks aren't going to have any money. But at the same time, if you aren't the first person in line to get your money, you may not get your money at all. So it's kind of a fine line. Do you take all your money out of the bank and then the banks crash because everybody's withdraw their money? And then, but do you take a chance that everybody else is going to go and withdraw the money? And then you thought you'd hold out, which is exactly how I lost my money in crypto. I held out, and guess what? Everybody else sold. And I lost a lot of my money in crypto. It can happen with the banks too. It's the same premise. So here are some of the tips from the economists. They say one of the first things you should do is end your debt. They said try to end your present debt. Do not incur more debt. If you have credit cards, pay them off. Do not charge anything more on your credit cards. Easier said than done, no question about it. But if we're going to go into a global crisis, we do want to be as debt-free as possible. And an economist, a British economist, Rodney Shakespeare, a very popular guy, a very popular economist, he said it's probably wise to get out of stocks and shares. He said Warren Buffett appears to be indicating that a stock market peak has been reached. And we know, we reported earlier this week that Warren Buffett allegedly has bankrolled 277, I believe it was million in cash that he sold a lot of the stock, 58% shares of Apple stock and several others. He said, measure twice, cut once. Tread with caution in the equity markets. This is from, let's see here. I'm not in the equity markets. I don't know if you guys are, so I'm not really sure how much that applies to anyone. So don't invest in high tech right now. Make sure you have a very well-balanced portfolio. And it's the technology sector, which is considered overvalued right now. If you invest in the technical market right now, it says here, it's a surefire way to lose your money. I'm not sure. I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving this advice. Precious metals. Now, here's more my line of thinking. Precious metals. Now, this is a Swiss precious metal advisor, Claudio Grass. He is an expert in economics. He is saying here, move some of your wealth into physical precious metals and commodities. That represents 2 to 3% of the global wealth. And I agree, because, if things are going to get crazy, just like I talked about yesterday, one of the big predictions is that gold will double. And I don't think you can ever go wrong by investing in precious metals. I invest in gold, silver, copper, mining operations are some of my investments. And, gold goes up and down, precious metals, they go up and down, but I don't believe they'll ever lose their value. And when things get really crazy, you will always at least have that. I know my son's father, he used to buy gold bricks, little tiny gold bricks, little silver bricks, and he would save those, in a safe deposit box. And I think that's a really good idea. Coins, gold, silver coins. Also, wise idea, because you know what? Those are things you will always have in your possession. You can always count on gold. If worse comes to worse and you don't have any cash, trust me, people will be bartering in gold. No doubt about it. Charles says the stock markets are due for a huge correction. 9/11 is the last large correction. Yeah, back on September 11th, 2001. Absolutely so. And Margie says, be a hoarder and barter. Charles, bullion, 1 ounce bars. Yes, I think that's a wise investment, is the 1 ounce bars. I really do. I think there's a lot you can do with those. And Donna says, who will buy the gold? Well, a lot of people, Donna, if things get crazy, you're going to be able to trade for gold. Let's just say if you have small gold coins, you're going to be able to purchase food or seeds to grow food, or maybe a vehicle. Let's say your car breaks down. Well, if you want to go buy a new vehicle, you can offer them some gold bullion. It's always going to be worth something. Precious metals are always going to be currency, no matter what. The money we have isn't worth the paper it's printed on these days. And at some point, there's a very good possibility that we will be using gold bullion, gold coins to barter and trade and to make purchases possibly. There's I think a lot of institutions out there who will purchase who will take your gold. They're not going to give you money back for it. It's going to be goods, because there is no money. So you're not going to be taking your gold and exchanging it for cash. You're going to be taking your gold and exchanging it for goods, or for hospital services, or medical care, whatever it is you might need. At least it's worth something, because those credit cards we have, they're not going to be worth anything. I mean, those banks are going to go under. I wondered about that, because they always say pay off your debt. I'm like, well, if you pay off your debt and then the banks go down, maybe your debt's going to be erased. So I don't know if I'm going to agree to that one. Donna says, I can see the car dealership taking your gold bars. Yeah, if there's no cash, think about that. We have to get our brain wrapped around, if there's no cash, if there's no money, if there's no banking system, what do you have? What do you have to barter with? What, you can buy cigarettes and barter with those, ammunition, weapons. I've heard shovels, different types of metals, anything that you think somebody else might need is what you need to have to barter with. And gold is just a bigger way of bartering, because you can trade somebody your gold coins, again, for seeds or tools or vehicles or medical care, whatever it is you might need. It's all about a bartering system, because we have to remember, if it comes to that, then there would be no cash. Will that happen in our lifetime? I have no idea. I think it's certainly possible, because the way I think about things, getting into a Harris Walz administration regime, anything is possible. I think things are going to get so darn crazy. I don't know what's going to happen. And I think it's better to be prepared and be ready for that. Donna says, so back to basics, chickens and cows. You got that right, chickens and cows. Because yes, you're going to have to feed your family. You need to know how to plant your vegetables, how to plant your crops. It does. I have chickens. You know why? Because let's say things get super crazy. Okay. Well, my chickens can eat grass and bugs, and they're going to give me eggs every day, right? I don't even have to kill the chickens. They're going to give me eggs. And then I could choose to eat the eggs, or I could barter with the eggs, right? Or I can take those eggs and hatch more chickens and have more eggs. I can sell the chickens. I mean, I think chickens are one of the wisest things right now any person could do. Any person could do. There's so many options you have when you have chickens, between bartering, selling, trading, all of that type of thing. So definitely think about that. Most people can't have cows at their home, but if you can, also, same thing, a lot of livestock. So before we go, I know I am running out of time. I got started a little bit late today. I want to talk about Project Looking Glass. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know the faintest clue what Project Looking Glass is, but this guy in this video, I don't know who he is either, but he's going to explain a little bit about Project Looking Glass. And then I'm going to do some deep dives on that because I am hearing about this Project Looking Glass everywhere I turn, and I've never even heard of it before. I have no idea outside of what this guy is going to talk to us about. I've been seeing all these new timelines being posted all across the internet, and I don't really know what any of it means. And I'm curious if you guys, have you guys heard of, you guys sometimes are far ahead on these things, way ahead of me. So I'm curious if you guys heard of it. We're going to watch this video real quick, and then we're going to finish up the show talking a little bit about Project Looking Glass. Oh, maybe not. Well, that's strange. I guess we were not going to be talking about Project Looking Glass. Do we have? Oh, here we are.
Right here. Who made the claim back in June? So here's breaking news. On August 8th, 2024, we're going to be jumping timelines. According to Project Looking Glass, which it's a secret government project. How the hell do we know about this? Damn it, man. We know about it from this guy right here, who made the claim back in June. So if you're unfamiliar with what Project Looking Glass is, it's a secret government project which we somehow know about that uses quantum computing and advanced technology to look at other timelines, the future, and alter our timeline, or to force a timeline jump. And how would they do that? How could they force a timeline jump? Have you ever heard of collective consciousness? Because that's basically what it sums up to. Project Looking Glass discovered that if you get enough people that are thinking about and manifesting the same thing, you could alter the timeline. And TikTok, I'm just joking. This is all for shits and giggles, entertainment purposes only, and whatnot. The fall of the Soviet Union was thought to be the direct result of Project Looking Glass manifestation. And I can see everybody rolling their eyes. So how do you jump all of humanity into a different timeline? All you would need is a catastrophic event that would induce fear into the general public. When people are in a state of fear and confusion, they are less effective at manifesting their own desires, making the reality of today easier to manipulate by outside forces. They just need enough people to be afraid, to do what they want to do. And who's they? I have no idea. Obviously, how am I supposed to know this shit? This is a secret government project. How am I supposed to know this? I'm just a dude from Missouri with a cat that walks in the cemetery. But they sure did pick an interesting date to do this on August 8th, 2024. Because the coincidences that surround August 8th, 2024, it's just too much. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the time traveler, Donald J. Trump. But that's for another video. Don't let them manipulate you this week. Be in control of your own consciousness. Fuck Project Looking Glass. Damn it, man. The other Donald Trump video is coming. I promise.
Is he crazy? I mean, I don't know who that guy is. Is he off his rocker? I have no idea. Some of what he says makes sense because I certainly do believe in the collective conscious. Can we collectively, consciously, or unconsciously change the timeline? I mean, I don't think so. I think some of this is the craziest stuff I've ever heard. But there's so many people who believe it that I felt like I had to talk about it because some of it makes sense. Some of it makes sense. Now, of course, August 8th was yesterday. I don't feel like I've jumped the timeline between yesterday and today outside of being extremely tired from having to work really late last night. I don't think any of you feel any different. I don't know, though, but how would we know if we did? You know, we always talk about glitches in the matrix, and I feel like if you believe in what they call a glitch in the matrix, and I believe it, if you believe these things happen, then you have to believe that there is something else going on around us, right? Otherwise, how would we have a glitch in the matrix? How would you have all of these different parallel things going on all at the same time? You know, I think we all have to look at, we have deja vu moments and premonitions and supernatural and paranormal, and all of these things have to intertwine somehow. You know, I certainly do 100% believe in the concept that if we all put our minds to one thing, that we can make it happen. That comes back to the power of prayer. If you have a lot of people who come together and pray for someone, of course, through God, then I believe those prayers are answered sometimes. I think that if we have enough people that come together and think about a certain scenario or certain things happening. I think it's been proven. There's stories out there that will blow your mind where they have done studies where they had groups of people that come together and all concentrate on one thing, and then that one thing happens. I think that collectively we do have the power within us to make things like this happen. But jumping the timeline, that seems a little far-fetched to me. And Sheila says that is just too crazy. I think it's crazy too. But I was just curious because I've heard so many people talking about Project Looking Glass these days, and I have no idea why. So that's something we can all take with a grain of salt. Think about it. Don't think about it. I'm going to be looking into it a little bit further because I really want to know what they are talking about. It just seems like so many weird things have been happening lately. I don't know if that's happened to you guys. One time somebody told me what their saying was called "the veil is very thin," and I do take a lot of thought into that because it does seem like to me I'm having more deja vu moments. I'm having more of these weird little glitches and things happening, and I don't know what's going on. It does kind of make me wonder if some people think, well, maybe we're heading towards the end of the world and we're heading towards the revelations. Maybe that's why things seem like they're all coming together. But it does seem really strange to me. I just feel like there's something weird going on in the universe. I don't know if you guys feel that way. If it's just me, maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But I do think there's some weird stuff going on. And I don't think it has anything to do with this Project Looking Glass. But I do believe in, again, the kind of concept. So with that, I need a really long nap. I worked really late last night and I'm really tired. But hopefully we covered some good information today. We have a lot to look forward to on Monday. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen over the weekend. Plenty to talk about on Monday. We have some debates coming up between Trump and Harris. Apparently Harris is not going to debate Trump on Fox, which I don't think any of us ever expected her to because she wants it in her own home territory. Donna says, a human brain, your soul is a very powerful thing. I think so. I think there are so many things about us that we haven't unlocked. And I think we are becoming ever closer to understanding how our brains work and what's really going on in the universe around us. And I think we should all talk about that a little more often, even if it does sound crazy. Nothing wrong with exploring different ideas because I think we all have more questions than we have answers. So on that note, I hope you guys all have a really great weekend. I will look forward to talking to you all on Monday. Don't forget, we have a text line, and I don't know where it is to tell you the phone number. Here it is, 314-546-2677. If you guys have any questions, if you want to talk to me about any topics, if you want to text me your videos or stories or photos, I will be happy to talk about them. If you know of any guests that might want to join the show, certainly feel free to let me know. Linda says, well, it seems like things are falling apart. They are falling into place. Biblical times. That's right. Have a good weekend. Also, Charles, have a good weekend. Genevieve, Donna, once you have a premonition that comes true, it changes you. Believe me. You better believe it, Donna. It's happened to me numerous times. And lately, it seems like it's happening more frequently. And something really strange, in my opinion, is going on. But we'll talk about that another day.